how basic should your wrestling be? Well, I like to say this. First we have basics, which is, how to do a stance, how to do a half Nelson, the basic stuff. Then we go into 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You could say once you have the basic mechanics down, you know how to sprawl in a circle, you know how to make contact, you know that in a stance, you don't let your opponent read your shirt, you keep your right pick over your right knee, keep your left heel behind your left back hip pocket, all of the basic stuff. If you're a member of our online academy, you know all of this. If you're not, you should be. Then we go into phase 1. And you could say 95% of your points come from 5% of the wrestling. We reverse engineer how to win a wrestling match. It's part of what we do, right? And it's true. 95% of your points come from 5% of the wrestling. Because think about this. A 6-year-old is going to catch a grounder the same way that a 36-year-old man who plays for the St. Louis Cardinals does. Why? Baseball is baseball. Bowling is bowling. Tennis is tennis. Gymnastics is gymnastics. Now, sure, higher level gymnastics is higher level. But the skills that we use in wrestling, there are core skills. And that's one of our phrases, right? Foundation wrestling, core skills. So the level 4 wrestler is going to still utilize some basics and all of the phase 1 core skills. Now you could say, well, what's the 80-20 rule? 80% of your points success comes from the 20%. You could probably use that to say, okay, now we're phase 2, phase 3. There's different stuff. So your opponent at that level knows how to hit a crackdown off of a high crotch. Well, you might need to learn to wrestle off of your hip, or you can shoulder slip before they even crack you down. You don't need to do that in basics. You don't even need to do that in phase 1. We're assuming the opponent doesn't know that. But is that a core skill? Phase 2, it's a core skill. Crackdowns are core skills, right? So I would like to see you really focus on the 95-5. If your kid's a basic wrestler, focus on the basics. 90% of the kids should be focused on like phase 1, 95-5. And if you have our online academy, you know that. If not, you can figure it out on your own possibly if you're not interested. But I would say at the end of the day, taking a winter walk. Look where I live. Middle of freaking nowhere. Daniel Boone's home is right there. 1 mile. Augusta, Missouri. This is the winery country. Missouri was the wine capital of the world before Prohibition. And if you're familiar with the Missouri wineries, I was very lucky. Bought 10 acres over that hill. That house right there. 1800s. They're everywhere out here. Right over that hill. Call it the hill. We all live on the hill. There's 4 of us. We have 11 acres up there. We just bought another 39 behind us, so we have 50 acres. And my kids are going to build back there. We're having a compound. Well, lock the gates. Yeah. Anyway, back to the wrestling. If you say your opponent is going to grab your kid's neck in a JV match or a varsity match or a youth match, a skilled youth match, 6 times a match, which is probably true, you get 50 varsity matches 300 times this year. Ding, 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 ding. Common position. You better get good there, right? Now I can show you, we're going to have 7 things to do from there at the high level, but there's 3 main ones that we're going to do in phase 1. And one thing we're going to do in the basics. So if you kind of start thinking about how to look at the reverse engineering of how to win a wrestling match, and you start to map out, it can really help your wrestlers. And if they are wrestling at a higher level, they have 4, 5, 6 years of wrestling. They're wrestling year round. They're going to the big middle school and or national tournaments. They need to know more wrestling, because there's another phase of core skills. They're not going to use it every match, but it's still common enough that you better know it, right? You have to know how to get out of leg riding. You have to know how to counter a tilt. You have to know how to scoot and secure a tilt for a 5 count. It's easy to get a five count on the basic wrestler or the phase 1 wrestler. So watch this again, get a pen, chew on it for a while, and really think about, is my kid or does my coach have my son or daughter's team on a system? Otherwise, it's called buffet style. You know, it's like you walk through a buffet, eat a little this, eat a little that. This coach shows this coach says, hey, I know this Russian 2-on-1 inside trip funky leg. Let's try it. Here, we're working cradle counters today. Well, why? Is there no system in place? We worked Russian 2-on-1 funky leg yesterday, and now we're doing cradle counters 2 days ago. We broke out and just did inside trips. Then 3 days ago, we were doing basic half Nelsons, and we're all wrestled for 5 years year round. We don't need half Nelsons in here. It's like there's no rhyme or reason. And I did it too. I'm not criticizing. Coaches, we have all been there. We got to knock it off. You know, you need to have a system in place. So sit down with a pen and paper, map it out. If you wanted our system, you can always grab it. You know where to go. If not, that's fine too. We wish you success either way. But there's some details for you guys. Good luck.